Welcome everyone. This is our final presentation of the 2025 New York, New Jersey HEP EEL grantees. So we're really happy to have everyone here and to talk more about eels in New Jersey today. So thank you everyone for coming. If you don't know who I am, my name is Isabel Stinnett. I am the senior scientist for ecological restoration at the New York, New Jersey Harbor and Estuary Program and the Hudson River Foundation. I'm going to ask everybody who is not a grantee who is presenting today to sign in the chat for me and just put your name and where you're coming from. And if somebody else referred you to this presentation today, other than an email from me, if you would add your email address, that would be amazing. And yeah. Sorry, I'm just admitting more people here. Okay. So I'm going to get started with a little presentation and just kind of about our program as a whole. And then I will pass it off to the grantees and each grantee is going to give their own kind of 5-minute presentation. And we can be very casual about this and feel free to pipe up and ask them questions. Can ask questions of each other and, we can do raising hands and also I can look for questions in the chat. That would be great. And yeah, so we can share all about our findings for the year. Okay, give me 1 second and I will just load my presentation real quick. Okay, can folks see my screen and it looks normal? Okay, great. Amazing. Okay, so first we'll start off. I have like an eel intro slide. I assume that if you are here, most people know a little something about eels, but I'll just give you like a few kind of facts. American eels are a species of concern for both New York, the states of New York and New Jersey. The Fishery Commission considers its population to be at or near historic lows, so it's a very important species for us to keep protecting. They're also they have a really interesting relationship with freshwater mussels as well, where freshwater mussels actually use the eels in part of their life cycle to spread their population through the tributaries of our estuary as well. So, and I know freshwater mussels are highly endangered in some species in New York and New Jersey. So the eels are very important for them as well. And I will say that, our program at HEP and in New Jersey is very much inspired by the wonderful program by the New York State DEC, who have a great eel monitoring program up and down the Hudson. So we're hoping to do our part in the New Jersey side of the estuary. So if you haven't heard of their eel monitoring program, I encourage you to check that out as well. And I will also wanted to say that the New Jersey DEP does eel monitoring as well. They monitor glass eels in southern New Jersey, kind of south of our estuary, and also they do some monitoring of eels as part of their kind of freshwater monitoring throughout tributaries of the state. So most of what the folks are monitoring in terms of eels are the glass eels, which are the young of the year. So these are teeny tiny little fish that so it make their way all the way from the Sargasso Sea to our tributaries and are, about this long and transparent and just have two cute little black eyes. And this is like the first year of their life they're spending in our tributaries, and they will spend the next most of their lives in the tributaries of New York and New Jersey before going back out to sea to spawn. So this is the, you know what? Just check one thing, make sure I have nobody in my waiting room here real quick. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So this is the fourth year that the Harbor and Estuary program has been able to offer mini grants. So this is just small grants with the intention of helping our partners to grow an eel monitoring program, very kind of open-ended, and people have done such amazing things with that. The grant program has grown every year. I think it was, we started off with two organizations, and this last year we had 8 organizations. So it's been great. The grantees have built amazing programs. They've created curriculum. They've worked in the education sphere. They've done amazing citizen science work, really been kind of pillars in their community with these funds. They've piloted new methods of catching these eels and materials, which I'm sure you'll see more of in just a minute. And they've expanded a ton of partnerships and really were able to expand the reach of their organizations. So moving forward, um, we really wanted to build this kind of group of disparate grantees into a New Jersey collaborative. So last year I did an eel valuation. And yeah, forgive the eel puns. That's just part of the territory. Um, and so I surveyed past grantees last year, and basic questions like what are some of the benefits of this program to your organization and your professional benefits? What were some of the challenges? um, Kind of what do you need to sustain this project? Would having a standardized monitoring protocol help or hinder your operations? And then also kind of questions about how to grow our collective. Yeah, and I should mention, we've been working as a HEP program about being a little bit more thoughtful about our projects and how make sure they're reaching the goals that they are intended. So yeah, and wanted to see that I was meeting the needs of our grantees. And so put together a bunch of the responses to the survey. Oops. So high level responses that we got was very thoughtful, positive feedback on the benefits to themselves and their communities. And I'm not going to list out all of those, but I'll just kind of read out a few of them. They were able to build their capacity to host public events, to grow their partnerships, to create accessible communications documents, do more storytelling about eels. And then they feel like their audience has benefited by gaining scientific knowledge and new language and grew their interest in research. And also, they were able to make connections to larger ecosystems. So really like thinking about, connecting our New Jersey harbor and estuary waterways to the Sargasso Sea and to aquatic connectivity in general. Um, and the grantees were able to expand their professional skills. They said they grew professional connections, were able to access new audiences, new partnerships with schools. They thought it was intellectually interesting and that it enhanced their role as a community leader. So these were all really wonderful, positive things to hear. Um, they also definitely needed continued funding. No, not surprising. Small community groups, need sustained funding in order to operate a monitoring program like this. And then there was also a need for more educational materials. People were saying that they were coming upon audiences with no background in eels at all, and so it's helpful to have more materials for different learning styles. Um, they mentioned a need for help with data management and also sustained sharing and collaborations. So we kind of took all this and created some actions, which I'll share with you here. So we built an eel information website that is now on the Hudson River Foundation website, and also a Google platform for all the grantees to be able to share resources with each other. I created a data entry system that works in the field using Survey 123, so people could go with their phones or a tablet and bring that with the groups. So hopefully that was a little bit easier to handle their data management issues. We established monthly meetings for grantees and others who were doing eel monitoring in New Jersey so that we could just, share anything's going on, best practices, and just able to use each other as a resource more. And we're also in the process of looking for grants to apply for as a New Jersey collaborative. And we're doing some, in terms of educational materials, we're in the process of getting some posters to help with, explaining about eels and their lifestyle, and some temporary tattoos. So in terms of moving on to the 2025 results as a whole, I'll just give a brief kind of overview, and then the grantees can go into their individual results. So, excuse me. We caught, as a collective, we caught 344 glass eels and 162 elvers. The glass eels are, again, those young of the year, the ones that are kind of transparent, and the elvers are as they start to get a little bit larger and they start to get pigmentation. Those are the elvers. Um, the grantees went out and monitored over 200 times. The most successful MOPS were located in the Upper Hackensack River, followed by the Rahway River. And the grantees organized 13 eel-themed events throughout the season. Here's just a quick look at our monitoring locations. So you can see we're covering a good swath of the tributaries of New Jersey. And here's our data as a whole. So this is the glass eels and elvers together. You can see on the y-axis is the number of eels caught. And then on the x-axis is the time throughout the year. So it starts in mid-February and goes to just a couple weeks ago in July. So, mostly low numbers. People are catching 0 to 5 or 0 to 10 pretty consistently throughout the year, and then some really big days, which are very exciting to see. Here's just a word cloud of some of the other things that people are reporting catching in their eel mops. And this is the composition of who was actually going out to monitor the eel collection devices, the mops. So you could see it's very good variability from staff to students to community scientists, volunteers. So a little bit of everything.
Um, I'm not seeing anything like what you're putting up.
Oh, are other people seeing
I can
other people able to see the slideshow?
I can see it.
Huh.
Able to see it,
Weird.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, was that Clea? Maybe you want to try rejoining again in a minute? Or
Mm, okay, I could do that.
okay. Sorry
Sorry.
about that. Well, I am almost done anyway. This is my last slide. I just wanted to acknowledge and help to introduce the organizations that you'll be hearing from, the grantees for 2025, and also importantly want to acknowledge that we're not doing this alone, and we've had really wonderful partnerships over the years with NOAA, with the New York State DC, New Jersey DP, Stockton University, Lamont Doherty, and the Jacques Cousteau Nears as well. So thank you. Some of those partners are here on the call today. So just wanted to take a minute and thank everyone for their continued advice and helping our New Jersey collective along the way. So I will stop sharing there. Hopefully. Okay. Does anybody have any questions before I hand it over to the grantees about just kind of the program in general?
Who was that 75 glass eels? Who's the winner?
I think what Kurt, was that you?
Or
Yeah, I'll show that in the data.
Yeah, amazing. All right. Okay, great. If there's no more questions, then I will hand it over. I haven't discussed an order with anyone, so if that's okay, I'll just kind of choose people in random order. Um, Grace, do you want to start us off?
hi. Yeah, sure. 1 second. Let me see if I can share.
Yeah, and grantees, don't forget to introduce yourselves as well.
Um, how's that? Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yep.
Sam, you're there. Michelle's there. Hi, everyone. I'm Grace San Victoris from Hudson Montessori School in Jersey City. I have my STEAM team with me. You guys can say hi.
Hi, I'm Samantha Gordon. I am STEAM educator and coordinator here at Hudson Montessori. I work with students in kindergarten through 3rd grade and now recently middle school as well.
Michelle, say hi.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and I also work with students all across all grades.
And we are the STEAM team for Hudson Montessori School. Yes, I come to the meetings, but I couldn't have done it without Michelle and Samantha. So they'll share their little bit in a little while. I'll go in the next slide. You guys see this? Is it okay, Sam? Is it going? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so just a little bit overview. We have like 33 slides, so I'm going to speak really fast since we said 5 minutes. So every time we go out, this is our supply. We had the honor and privilege to expand our outreach to our Jersey City community and beyond. This is our eel project. There's our biggest event was this year is we hosted the American Eel Field Day. We were cutting down the name. We had American Eel Field Migration Day, and the kids are like, that's too long. Let's just call it American Eel Field Day. So that's open and free to our community, Jersey City. It was hosted at Liberty State Park. Of course, as educators, we have our student objectives that we share to our parents and our communities as well. The bigger drivers are my Hudson Montessori Eco Club kids that Samantha and I meet with like every other week, right, Sam?
Yep.
And they're just the most enthusiastic bunch of kids that like to run the event. And so we want to acknowledge how great they are. And they're always there supporting us. So we've had a bunch of partners as well. We have our school, of course, always supportive of our endeavors, Billion Oyster projects with all their resources and symposiums that we're able to attend with our students. We have DEC's resources as well. We love Day in the Life, and every year we participate, and that kind of springboards everything what we do throughout the year with the Hudson River. So thank you to them. And of course, Liberty State Park, which is just a stone throw away from us, always supportive of all our events. So this year we had the Eel Day with them, and of course the City of Water Day. So that was super fun for all of us. And again, we're gaining momentum with our community. So they know this is kind of annual. So we're grateful that we have this opportunity to do that with them. And they're catching up. So we've also partnered with sewage-free rivers and streets, addressing flooding. Especially we have a bunch of CSOs, and even our eel mops is near site, and it's probably why we have 0 glass eels, like Kurt. But we've also hosted some events with them as well. We have a community leaders advocate program that we host in our school, and we have a bunch of Jersey City community and some regional as well addressing that. So we've had some guest speakers as well. And then we have STEM Teachers NYC that we always are invited to, and they give us opportunities to share our citizen science projects and outreach. So we've done a couple of virtual presentations and in person as well. We added 2 new schools to our team. We have the All Saints School in Hoboken, New Jersey, and we have our local Eco Club at McNair High School. So that was super exciting for them to come out and share their work as well. And then we have the Watershed Forestry Institute for Teachers that I get a chance to share with them every year. So this is where our eel mop is. We have eel mops, I should say, it's plural. We have 5 now, I believe. There's 2 that's stuck underneath, but it's at Liberty State Park, right by Morris Pessin Drive, Lot 4 specifically. We have our scientific permit and still 0 glass eels, but we do a periodic water quality check with our students, and we have these are hyperlinks, so when I share it, you guys are welcome to click and see what data we have. But this year we've added this app. Thank you, Isabel. So we're trying to be diligent about uploading our data there to show a more consistent input. We have, so here we have some eels that, not eels, eel mop retrievals that we've done with the kids. So lots of crabs there and amphipods. And we caught comb jellies as well. So Here's our virtual activities that we've done with STEM Teachers NYC. And then again, some events in person. They love those posters, Isabel. So if you notice, a lot of the pictures, they start off with the posters because it's informative, and then they switch. So we had fun as well with the Youth Initiative event at Liberty State Park, so they enjoy that. It's always exciting to see when they touch the eel the first time. So Isabel, that was great that you were able to bring some eels over to them. So here they are. And here's our big field day events. Here are the kiddos with their eel shirts. I think we owe you one, Michelle, but it was a very gray and windy day. But they were troopers. We always say there's no bad weather, just bad clothing. So they stuck it out. We had a great turnout. Some families came over in our school and out of school, in our communities. They're just there to enjoy the day. We have our kids learning how to do the water parameters and also teaching others how to do that. So he couldn't quite reach the turbidity tube, so he had to sit up in a stool. Super cute. And then we've also partnered up with Liberty Science Center. They came out to the event as well, and they're looking forward to coming to our World Fish Migration Day, which is really cool. And again, some more organizations that joined us. We've done presentations at our New Jersey Montessori Association convention, and you could see they love doing those maps. And we've done some future city presentation as well for our teachers addressing the sustainable developmental goals. And we love, of course, seeing our students kind of independently do their own research from just this monitoring, water quality monitoring. So we have some student working on the PFAS. So Avi over here, he looked into forever chemicals. He just graduated, but he did win gold for his research here. He wanted to do I guess a live monitoring real-time pH that monitors optimization of a water filtration system. And since he couldn't get his hands on PFAS, so he did a substitute that has the same molecular structure as PFAS. He used red Bengal, and he actually found some coagulations in there. So that was great for him. So I think he'll continue that. So we'll see. He's off to high school. And then we have Matthew over here, who's rising 7th grade. So this is his 6th grade. He's interested in algae, I guess, and algae blooms, because he noticed in his summer home. So he coded and created his own monitoring system. And I think this year he wants to continue his study using machine learning and how to identify certain, I guess, parameters that will detect before algae. So low cost, we call it the LCAD. And then we have, again, our outreach. We have some McNair kids that we trained as well to help us out. So they love coming over and our kids showing them how to do water quality. So that was exciting for them. And then, of course, we attended the Billion Oyster Project Symposium when they got made their own little Elena. That's what they call this little puppet that we've handed over to a new caretaker, Noelle. She still has it for her events. It's her name, Elena. Some more photos from our youth initiative with DEP's youth initiative program. They were so excited to catch crabs and shrimps. Some resources for those who are interested. These are all hyperlinks that Michelle and I and Samantha have used with our students. And yeah, these are all also hyperlinks. There's Sam with her unfurling. Some mappings with our kids. We participate also in the Hudson River Data Jam. So they've done some creative projects that focused on eels. Michelle can tell you more about that. Also, this year I was able to get certified as a Globe educator. So we are spreading internationally, and we can actually share our data with other internationally part of the Globe program, which is supported by NSF and NOAA, sponsored by NASA. Super cool. And data. So we get our water quality parameters, salinity, turbidity, pH. So our eels are still, you can see right here, Z0. Number of elvers, 0. Still data. I'll let you take this one, Sam.
Speaking of data, so this is from lower elementary. So this is, I know it's a little bit hard to see here, but here's their qualitative data, I guess you could say. We always have them reflect and write, and it's just sometimes very precious what they take away. For instance, on the right-hand side, I remember reading this. Miss Samantha and Dr. Grace are really excited to get fishing licenses, and they were right. They were right. But it's very sweet what they take away from what we show to them, what we expose to them. Because in lower elementary, it's truly about the exposure. Here on the left-hand side, it says, Miss Samantha, this is for World Fish Migration. When we broadcasted live, I believe may have been Croatia we were broadcasting with. And it says, Miss Samantha will be global and speaking to people from different countries. And they know that I'm in here right now having a meeting. I'm pretty sure that they think we are celebrities of the eel world. But it's really contagious. It's how much we love it. We see it in their writing. And then on the next page, Dr. Grace, if you can go over, we have more of the quantitative data. And what I wanted to show here is not just the data. I wanted you to also see the scientists that are taking that data. So here we have a second grader, or really a rising third grader and a rising second grader. So these children are able, they're completely competent, and they also understand what we're talking about when we're talking about these parameters. Salinity, turbidity, dissolved oxygen. What does it do? What does it mean? And they take the data collection very seriously because they know that we are part of our scientific community and we give this data to our scientific partners. But it just really, truly goes to show that children are brilliant and they can handle this. And in fact, they love it. So Day in the Life is a really nice way early in the year for them to get their kind of intro to data, because the eel, as we study the eel through their school career, really, taking data and recording it is just second nature. Like when I yell out data break, everyone stops. They get the data, the time, and it's really sweet. It's really sweet. And then we recently have purchased waders. Last year we purchased waders, and more recently we've gotten more. You can't have a bad time in waders. It's just impossible. If you put waders on, you're smiling and you're happy, even if they don't fit all the way. So it's just a great way to take data, but also there's the motivation. We're going in the river and we're putting on the waders. So now data is not just something. When I was in high school, I didn't think of data this way. They think of data as a treat to go out and get, and it is. So those are our junior scientists contributing.
I think you need to show that video of Charlie's.
Oh,
I gotta send that to you.
The child on the right-hand side was my guinea pig because he's quite hardy for putting on my first pair of waders. If you get your children or your students waders, just be prepared to sit down and help them put them on and take them out. but my cheeks hurt by the end of the day because it was that cute.
Okay, so some of, yeah, more writing here. Feel free to read this, you guys. I'm not going to go through. But again, we do attend the Model UN, so we emphasize our SDG goals as there as well. Our standards, NGSS, Science and Engineering, DCIs, it's all teacher talk. But I want to end with one of our students. This is Michelle's students. His name is Ronak. Was in 5th grade, right, Michelle, when he wrote this poem. And this is his photo, picture that he drew about glass eels. So indulge me as I read you his poem. In New York Harbor, rough and real, the tide rolls in, and so does eel. They're small and clear, just like thin glass, and slide through rocks and chunks of brass. Past docks and pipes and ferry smoke, they weave through trash the city broke. No one stops to take a glance, but still they push, they take their chance. From ocean deep, they made their way to Jersey shores and Eastside Bay. They slipped past boots and metal beams through rainfield drains and subway streams. It's not a show, it's not a race, just life that moves from place to place. They don't give up, they never stall. These eels are tough, though they look small. In harbor water thick and brown, they fight the current heading down. A quiet journey, strong and true. Through New York's mess, they still get through. Isn't that the best? So eels are awesome. If you guys need any curricular stuff, we are here with you, for you and with you. Feel free to contact us, and I'll share this with you, Isabel. And special thanks, of course, and you can see there's more organizations that joined along this year, so we're excited about that. We're looking forward to World Fish Migration Day and Day in a Life again in October. And yeah, this is our data. 0 eels, but a lot of students, 300, number of educators, about 50 this year, and our community science program, priceless. So, thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Grace and Samantha and Michelle. You guys are a super hard act to follow. Does anybody I think we have time maybe for one quick question, if anybody has any questions for them. Okay. All right, let's move on to our next group. Henry, do you want to go?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Just share my screen here. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, great. Hello, my name's Henry Pullen. I'm from the New Jersey Sports and Exposition Authority, and I'm a landscape designer and research technician. I've just brought along a few slides today, mostly images that kind of capture our monitoring season this year. Here are some of our freshly constructed eel mops. We spent a lot of time just untwining a nice thick polypropylene rope and getting them all attached to these plant trays. I think they came out looking pretty good. We did 3 of them. And here's a map of the locations. We kind of tried to strategically place the mops at northern, central, and southern locations throughout the Hackensack Meadowlands district. This is I took these pictures while I was scouting the locations kind of earlier in the year in March, I believe. This is the dilapidated embankment that where we deployed one of our mops in Laurel Hill Park. And here is the location where we deployed one of our mops kind of behind our offices over Kingsland Creek. And here's our last location out by West Side Avenue in North Bergen. This is yeah, just a creek that a bridge passes over there. And yeah, we had a lot of fun monitoring our eel mops. We went out pretty much every day or every week. And yeah, kind of halfway through the season, we had Dr. Allison Fitzgerald's class from NJCU stop by. And yeah, they had a blast. They were looking for invertebrates that day. But we're really thrilled to find an eel in the mop when we pulled it up. We also got a bunch of invertebrates, crabs, and such that they then worked with. Here we are just kind of straining the contents of the mop. And then we took everything over to this station that we set up behind our truck. It had a magnifying glass and a microscope. And they had a bunch of assignments that they did there. And there's the Elver eel that we pulled up, one of the eels in that mop that day. Yeah, and in addition to that, we had interns come out pretty regularly, kind of a crew of interns that comes through here throughout the year, and we had several tag along. On the right here is Clara. She came out with me every day, or sorry, I keep saying every day, every week, and pretty much every week. And yeah, she learned how to use a water quality sensor. Here you can see her kind of just rooting through some of the debris, getting our eels out, separating the eels from the debris. And then she was in charge pretty much for the most part of entering all the data we collected into Survey 123. Here's a little bit later in the year when we didn't need to wear our high-vis jackets. Clara and Talea sorting through a mop there. And here are just some images from some of our collections. On the left, that's earlier in the season. You can see just got a small handful of glass eels there, very transparent. But then on the right, that's later. Let's see, did I make a note of when that was from? I think that was probably end of May in that image. And I think that was one of our bigger days. We probably got like over 40 eels that day. And we've got Elver in there, and then some eels with a lot of pigmentation. So yeah, the whole eel monitoring crew had just found it very interesting, really fun to watch these eels develop as we pulled them up every week. And then Clara, one of the last things she did before she left, she was kind of our social media whiz. She made a really nice Instagram post that you could kind of scroll through, and it kind of features all our data. She did a nice little kind of synopsis of the work that we're doing. She included this map and kind of features the life cycle of the American eel around it, and kind of nice progress chart here of development, and then yeah, just kind of a breakdown of our data. So at the end, we determined we caught this might not include our very last collection, but that was a small collection. So we caught yeah, about 116 glass eels and 80 elvers. I thought it was a productive run, so and a lot of fun. And I think, yeah, that's all I've got.
Great, thanks, Henry.
Of course.
Anybody have any questions for Henry?
Yeah, Henry, which of the three locations was the most productive?
Oh, great question. So it kind of varied. Let me pull up our map here. So Laurel Hill started off like fairly productive, but it really kind of the numbers petered out pretty quickly. West Side Avenue was where we got some of our biggest numbers actually. Um, and and Kingsland Creek actually kind of towards the end there started to catch up. Yeah,
Thank you. That's quite interesting.
of course.
Hi. So, are you taking data daily? And what do you think is the reason that one area will have more ills than others?
Good question. So yeah, we were going out weekly. Sorry, I did say daily twice for some reason, but we were going out weekly. And let's see, we did.
And that will be a total of how many sampling dates?
So we were going out early. We pretty much early. It was like early May through the wait, hold on. Let's see. It was sorry, March through the end of May. So I can pull up a calendar, but it was just while we're here. You know, I'll have to get back to you with the amount. It was like 2.5 months. One, two, four, yeah, about 2.5 months. But yeah, once a week, and the reason for I mean, I kind of saw it. Laurel Hill started off strong, and I could kind of see them just working their way up the river. And then Laurel Hill was on the main stem of the river, and and both Kingsland Creek and West Side Avenue were a little ways up. You can see there are these creeks here, and yeah, it seemed to us that they were just kind of working their way up the creeks.
All right, thanks, Henry.
Of course.
Hugh, do you want to kick us off next?
I can do that. Sure. Absolutely. Let me just get a set here. Okay. And there's that. Wait, let's do this. Hold on. One sec.
Yeah, and if folks have come up with other questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and our grantees can answer them there.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. You hear me? Okay, allow. You see me everything? Do you have everything?
Yeah, you're on
Yeah,
you're
I'm
not in
ready.
presentation mode, but yeah.
I am now. Okay. Okay, so like the rest of us, this has been a wonderful year. It's one of the best years so far. I started out at the NJSEA during Marsh Madness, a wonderful event where the Meadowlands Environment Center brought in a number of students from around the region that had been working with them on various programs, and the eel mob never looked so good as as it did that day. Also next to me there is the commercial type eel trap that we've been deploying. We deployed at the end of the eel mop season, so I'll have more to report on that as the time goes on. So location, this is the basic area, the targeted area where they do the work from. I was a little up from Laurel Hill Park at a place called Exchange Secaucus Junction. It's the place where we keep our boats, but essentially it's the southern Meadowlands region. It includes all the tributaries, the marshes, etc. Specifically, this is where we're at here. So you can see our two boats here at the dock, and right on the inside here, in a very kind of an eddy, kind of calm area on the main stem of the river, is where I deployed the mop directly across from the Sawmill Creek Wildlife Management Area. And this is what it looks like. So this is the day of deployment. And so you're looking up here. That's obviously the walkway, the platform to the dock, the gangway, and then down on the dock level itself. Very well protected from heavier currents and winds, etc. And then this was the view from the shore looking down. So it worked out quite well. Worked out quite well. It's funny, as Henry was saying, our I did pretty good. I did a total of 10 glass seals throughout the season. No elvers ever at any time. I was quite shocked at that. I think last year, the year before, I probably had more elvers than I had glass eels. even late in the season, but beginning in April and ending about a month later that was it. And I went a couple of times, twice a week in June, and nothing because the lack of a better understanding. Sorry, oh yeah, just lots and lots of scuds and more. I mean, really, it really got pretty disgusting. Mud crabs also as well. I believe this is an oyster toadfish, juvenile here. So we did have a good bit, some grass shrimp as well. But essentially, I was looking at just a lot of the amphipods, and of course, by the time I pulled out, it was like looked like that. Even though I kept it up from the bottom, there was clearly more than enough of the sediments that just accreted onto the mop, making it pretty much impossible for anything to even get in there. I was also wondering, by attracting numbers of crabs and other potential predators, do the glass eels somehow decide not to seek shelter in a mop when it begins to look like this and less enticing to them? Another part of what I've been doing since the start is the angler outreach. And so these are the signs I put up. So they're in English and Spanish. Thanks to Elizabeth Valladares for giving me the modern Spanish translation. And that there's 6 locations rather, and each one this is at River Barge Park in Carlstad, and there already is on this area by the striped bass sign, there is already this yardstick. I provide them at every location, and I gave Tim, the new gentleman who operates the park, who manages the park for NGSEA, replacement should he need it. So it works out pretty well. In addition to the reports that are listed here, I got one just yesterday, another one from Mill Creek Point Park in Secaucus at the north end of town. So, and again, this was the largest ever. This one that came in at a Great Park down in Bayonne at 37 inches. That's crazy big. Now, in addition to the ILMOP and the angler outreach, we also did this just last week, or a week or two ago, when my ILMOP permit ran its course. So this is located in Overpeck Creek in Teaneck, adjacent to our paddling center in Teaneck. So there are adult eels in the creek. The creek is essentially, this section is basically an impounded lake, but there are eels in it. And this is the bait we've put in there to hopefully attract some good numbers. And I have nothing to report so far, but I will make sure that a subsequent report beyond the report required for the grant will be submitted to Isabel. I'm happy to do that. And of course, thanks to Isabel and all the partners and folks that assisted in everything. Fish and Wildlife, Sports and Exposition Authority, Mary, Bergen County Hudson County Parks, Bayonne Parks, Hackensack DPW, Secaucus Exchange, of course, and my coworkers, Marta, who helped me install the trap at Teaneck, and Tyler for briefing me on how to make a PowerPoint. So I appreciate it very, very much. And again, it was the best year ever. We had never had more than 10 before. So this is a good year, despite the fact that it just ended pretty much at the end of May. But happy to work on it in the future. And I will stop sharing.
Thanks so much, Hugh. Nice to see those photos. This really helps me like picture everything going on there. It's very cool.
Happy to help.
Any questions for you?
Me again. Hi. I'm very curious of that tramp that you showed that is so different. And what is the material that is made of?
Okay, it's basically galvanized steel. It's designed as a commercial eel trap for fishermen to use. We lay it in the water, not on the bottom, sort of about a couple of feet below the surface. It's baited with that fish bait that we use there, and it attracts adult eels into there. They're trapped alive, and they stay in there until we take them out and let them go. So there's no injury to the animal, and because they are this particular waterway we're on is still within the zone of the river that is salt water. We're not by any laws or requirements for license, and there's no requirements for the permit because these are all the fish that can be taken with hook and lines. We're just taking them as you would for bait, for example, and just letting them go. You're welcome.
Thanks. Thanks, Hugh. All right, let's see. Next up, JM or Heather? You guys want to go?
That would be great. Thank you. So thank you for having us. This was such a fun grant to work on, and it's amazing how much the eels inspire everybody. And they kind of are an electric thing not electric, a great thing to work on, and just bring a lot of community attention and positivity to the work that we're doing. So, our project at the Lower Raritan Watershed Partnership was similar to the others. I don't think I'll try to focus on some of the differences, I think. You can see that the Lower Raritan Watershed is about 350 square miles. It's right about here. And our eel mop was centered at the Green Brook, which is right where we chose, where Heather decided to position it. Is a really interesting location where a bridge was once here connecting these two parts of Jefferson, connecting Greenbrook to Denellen, and it was taken out several years ago. And we put the eel mop here because it's the intersection where the three different counties meet up here, Union, Middlesex, and Somerset. This Greenbrook is also the site that we chose is just upstream from our litter trap, which is part of a Superfund damages. It's part of the damages program from a Superfund site, the Cornell Dublier plant on Bound Brook. So it gave us it's a site that we're very familiar with, and that was already a place where we're good at activating the community. Our program ran a similar time length. Some of the interesting things that we did in addition, though, were our 5K. We organized a 5K around the eels. That included an incredible amount of art, including an eel sculpture that showed up in that Isabel's PowerPoint presentation. And in fact, same picture right here. It's a sculpture made out of trash out of the Greenbrook, including a shoe. And I'm pleased to say that there was a rotting bagel in it that is no longer there. So the sculpture has only gotten better with age. We only found two elvers during the course of our look. We had one eel mop, which is a little bit different from other folks, and we were also on a much smaller body of water, and one that is quite a ways upstream with several obstacles for the eels to get up. But the fact that we found even two elvers was promising and interesting to us, especially upstream of our litter trap. Here's our litter trap in action, our litter bandit, collecting some garbage out of the stream. And one of the things that we really enjoyed about this was the way that it inspired the local community, including at Greenbrook Middle School. Several of our observations were done with the Greenbrook Middle School's science club. And with these kids, they liked it so much, they put together poster presentations, sort of like college style poster presentations. And then they wanted to have, in addition to presenting at our 5K, they wanted to present at their school. And so they organized an amazing festival where they each gave a poster presentation to the groups rotated around. They gave poster presentations. There were two kinds of quiz, one electronic and one, you see the kids working on it here now, where they were piecing together pieces about the eel's lifespan and how it lives and what it does. And we were just blown away by the way this focused energy in the community. One, it's just it's an interesting animal to study and think about. And two, it got their imaginations going, because when it's something that they hadn't heard about before, it sparked their curiosity, and that in turn, they realized they could leverage that as storytelling, right? It's a way of communicating with their peers, because this is such an interesting thing that they don't get to talk about, or that they can tell their parents about and their parents won't know about it. So all of that was really cool. Now, while we only found 2 elvers in the course of our study, we noticed once we were trained to look for them, we started spotting them in other places in the watershed, which was kind of cool. We spotted one about 12-inch eel just the other week off Edison boat ramp, and then we've seen them also in brooks in Highland Park, and then in the Raritan watershed outside New Brunswick, next to an outflow. So it was interesting that even if we didn't find too many elvers in our particular study site, it was exciting to see the ways in which it expanded our knowledge and made us more aware about the life going on around us out there. Heather, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Thank you so much, Johnny. Just a couple of things. One, we worked with New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection AmeriCorps volunteer as part of the first 2 school engagements with the Greenbrook Middle School. So huge thanks to them. And their introduction to the students included the How a Watershed Works. And then we were able to build on that, to sort of, the bigger picture watersheds, Sargasso Sea beyond just the watershed. And so that was super helpful. They brought their Enviroscape in, and then we helped the students sort of scale their understanding beyond their local stream because of that AmeriCorps assist. And then also we are in February of 2025 using this site as a partnership, place-based education exercise for teacher professional development with the Department of Education. And so we're developing a sort of nice set of curricular materials to support educators in inquiry around eel habitat throughout the watershed, and maybe even throughout New Jersey. So this, not that eels have legs, but this is this project absolutely, as so many of others have said, just the ripple-on effects, another sort of pun on this, but are tremendous. I mean, this is just such a great exercise that people get really excited about. But huge thanks to Johnny too for all of his work on this project.
Thank you, Isabel.
Great, thanks to you both. That's awesome. Any questions for these guys before we move on? Okay, let's see. Kurt, you want to go? Oh, Kurt, we can't hear you. Start over.
Sorry about that. Let me try that one more time.
Yep, we can hear you now.
Yeah. All right. The Hackensack River was such an amazing river. That's right there near our offices. This photograph postcard just taken, of course, and we all know the history of the river right now. I mean, as you drive up I-95, you're actually driving over top of the New Jersey Turnpike. You're actually driving over top of the river in many places that can see that stuff. So for us, the question is, how do we get people connected to the rivers? And this eel project has been absolutely fantastic for that. It's part of a kind of a collection of things that we're doing and telling the story of this kind of plucky, heroic little eel that makes its way up this stream. Our goal is to get as many people involved in this process. So we got 31 participating this year, and to connect specifically with residents, people we know who have a house in the area. And in the last 3 years, we've documented about 174. We usually keep pretty good data about that. REO project is part of an effort to kind of do lots of things to get people out and looking at the river from, the City of Water Day that we just did. We do all kinds of dark sky programs and advocacies in which we still talk about the eels. Every part of this, monitoring nitrates in the river and talking about eels and connecting people with that, doing macrovertebrate studies, even fun celebrations like Pi Day celebration, where, just celebrating the number pi. There's an eel component to this as well. And, our pollinator gardens, everything gets connected back to this main project, which is our eel migration community science project, which has been for us extremely successful. And thanks to Hudson River Foundation for making that happen. All of these little techniques for connecting people with the river are really so important in getting them out there and understanding that what flows right behind their house is not just a drainage ditch, it's a living ecosystem connected to the world. We have two sites, one of them both along the Hackensack River. The one on the left, of course, is not far from our audience there, just above Fairleigh Dickinson University, where I also teach. And then further north, right across the campus at New Milford High School, the big blue body of water up here, of course, is the Oradell Dam. So that's kind of the end of the Hackensack River before it goes across into the dam and then streams beyond that. We chose that because the Hackensack River is highly tidal. This is actually the place where we're collecting eels. So in this bottom left-hand corner, you can see our collection getting ready there. This is it at high tide. This is what the Hackensack often looks like in Teaneck, where we are. And this is where I used to have my mop over here. That's the stream. This is the low tide, they call that. And all of this is mud. Trust me, I've fallen to this thing about 3 times already. Just trying to get the EMOPs. We decided to move it to a different location, which has been far more successful for us. I love this picture on the far right. We're doing this at Newbridge, which is the important site of the Revolutionary War. You can see in this drawing of the there. There's the bridge that we're actually correcting there on the top right. But look at the data. It was just about what it always typically is for a lot of you. We were getting a lot of glass eels, no elvers, and then a lot more and more elvers. And then it became Eelpalooza Day on the Hackensack River. We don't know why. We don't know what was happening. But every time we pulled up the knots, they were loaded, packed with eels. Up to 67 glass eels and 10 in one eel mop. Try counting that if you can. Every time I pull up the eel mop, I can see the big eels running off of the thing. So we never get any of those. But there's just something about this particular location, which we don't know what it is. The water slows down there. The Hackensack is very narrow. So we're at a pinch point in the river where more of the eels we think are going through. Why it was so successful, it's hard to say. But you try and count 67 little glass eels, and they're very difficult to count. Our other partner, of course, New Milford High School, they did not get someone stole their eel mop. And so they had to make a new eel mop, and their numbers were on the low side. They were getting more net eels. They were getting 15 to 20 eels last year. They're just a 1/10 of a mile upstream from us. I think when I looked at their eel mop and we were trying to ask the question why they weren't getting the same numbers, when the youth, I made the first eel mop with my team here. The second eel mop the youth made, I think it wasn't as bushy. I think bushiness matters. I think it needs to look big and substantial enough for the eels to want to get there. And if you put it in an area like we are, where the water's a little bit clear, the current is horrific, by the way. We had to really pull this thing to reel it in. It's traveling extremely fast when low tide and high tide come in. But we're in a place where it just seems to be sitting well. We don't use anchors. The mop is heavy as enough, so we took off the concrete portion of it, and it seems to be working pretty good. It keeps it off the bottom and all that mud. And I think that the fact that it gets to move around a little bit does not seem to take away from our numbers at all. Yeah, some of our continuing things, as you know, getting that permit is a challenge. If some of you are thinking of joining this, you got to get your permit today if you're starting next year. They're really great at New Jersey. I think they're just 2 or 3 people doing this, but they also take their job very seriously, and you got to cross all your T's and dot all your I's to get those things in. Still, once again, anytime we have a flood, it's difficult to get up to some of our areas where we're testing. And people love to play with our mops for some reason. We come to the river all the time and find it out of the water and sitting on the bank. We're not sure what it is. We think it's fishermen who are actually coming in and actually taking stuff out of our mops to use for baits. And of course, when we pull these things up, they're covered with arthropods and crabs and crayfish and all the kinds of stuff we've seen in these one standard size eel mops, which is pretty interesting. But, just thanks to the Hudson River for this really fantastic program. It allows us to connect people to the rivers in new ways. We've gotten more and more attention of people who are interested in the river, and we'd love to hope continue this project in the future. Thank you all.
Thanks, Kurt. And congratulations on those numbers. Very impressive.
Just unbelievable. We're not sure why either, and you're all welcome to come up and put your eel mop right there. And we'll figure out, maybe we should try different kinds of eel mops and just see which one is more efficient. If my theory about the bushiness matters and whether or not it's anchored or not, or we can use different experiments, and that may be something we could experiment if someone has some spare eel mops.
Cool. Grace, yeah.
I know, I was saying I have spare eel mops.
Sure, yeah,
put in
I
there.
think that'd be a great experiment for us to actually try different styles and put them in there.
I have yellow ones, so I don't know if the color matters.
Yeah, that's a good question, right? That's what scientists we all do. We try these different things until we figure out the ones that work.
And you have a sign up, and despite having a sign up, people still pull it out?
So on the rope itself is our permit, and on the back is all the information of what we're doing, and to leave it in the river. And I don't know what's going on. I think it could also just be people messing with us. But at least 4 or 5 times a year, we find it sitting on the bank. And so
Yeah,
you're
that's
gonna
why
pull it
our
up,
other
might as well.
location, that's what people do. They're not sure, even despite having the sign. So we settled with the one behind the gate, and that's the only one that's accessible to us too.
And we've sat there some days also just sitting in the area to see if people mess with. They have big public events, so people can see the rope going in the water. People like to pull things out of the water. So it's just one of those things. We'll just make it work. No one's stolen our mop yet, so just only from New Milford High School. That was taken from the campus.
Great. Thanks, all.
Thank you.
Speaking of different eel mop types, let's go to Noelle, because I know she's had some experience with this. Noelle, are you there?
Yeah, sorry. Actually, Isabel, could you skip to someone else and then come back to me?
Yeah, no problem.
I could go after this.
Yeah, okay. Clea?
Hello.
Hi.
Here I am. How are you? Yeah, so just something about the eel mops and people messing with them. So we had started as a volunteer, an intern in 2020, and he done a lot of things since then, and now he's actually working at New Jersey Fish and Wildlife. And he stopped by when we were in the middle of the eel monitoring, and I told him what we were doing, and I showed him the sign, and he was like, "Oh, you shouldn't even have a sign because poaching is such a big thing." That's like what he does. He's an enforcement officer, so he goes after people who are poaching. And he said eel poaching is a big thing. And so if you have a sign, it's like advertising. Here are, eels that you could take. So he recommended not even having a sign. That was just, what he said. He said they go for like thousands of dollars for like a quart. So if, they shake, if they're that valuable, and what they do is they take the young ones and they bring them to because I don't think you can breed them. You can take them from the wild and then breed them in captivity to grow them into adult eels. Of course, you can fish out the adult eels too, but the young ones are very valuable. So that's just something he said. So let's see. I have been not feeling very well. I've been doing a lot of work in our native plant gardens, and I've been dizzy, like really dizzy from the heat and everything. So I'm a little bit not feeling great, but so I could show you what I have. First, now I'm not really great at this sharing stuff. So I have to put it up on the screen and then share the screen. Is that how I would show you?
Yeah, you just have to have the window open and then you hit the green button at the bottom that says share.
But when you mean the file open on the screen?
Yeah, you just have to have it open on your computer.
Okay, let's see.
And then if you hit share, you should be able to select the window that's open that you want to share.
Oh, okay, good. So here it is. So this is we started monitoring on February 27th this year, and we finished it on May 30th, 2025, and we monitored just 2 locations. We started with these 2 locations. They're both tidal. But going forward next year, if we continue this next year, we would like to add additional, at least 1 or 2 additional locations, maybe further upstream, that maybe in locations that aren't tidal. So, because we had some interest of people who would like to possibly do it in other locations, like our people. So that's that. Let me see. Sorry, a little slow with this. So if I have a PDF, a multi-page PDF, can I scroll through the PDF? Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Yep, looks good.
How do you scroll through it though? Oh, no.
You should be able to just press the down arrow thing, I think, on the side.
Mm. Oh, there it is. Okay. So I'll just scroll through the pictures. This is a collection of pictures from starting, creating the eel mops through, yeah, there we go. So these are a few of our interns and volunteers. This is one service group who helped us create the eel mops, Siwa. This is one of our interns teaching the other folks how to make the eel mop. And this is pouring the concrete for the bottom. Doing that part, which took forever, many weeks. That's me putting them together. And that's a finished eel mop. This is starting to monitor at one of the locations. That's our sign that I took off. Although I like the sign, but he didn't think it was a good idea. Again, some photos of us monitoring and some photos of the glass eels. This was early on, so they're kind of tiny. And this. This is a brochure that we did about the eel monitoring. Now it's a trifold, so it's not going to look the way it does when you're when you're using it. So we just put together a nice little educational brochure about the monitoring program. So that's that, and we handed that out at every chance we got. All of our events, we had a lot of events this spring. So that's that. And let's see. I don't know, can I share a video? Let's see if I can share a video.
And Lawrence, where we got 5 last time, but they're still glass eels. They're still in that, world. And actually the ones here at Lawrence are smaller. They're about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. And some of the ones we got last week at Lawrence were, maybe 2.5.
Okay.
But still in that same stage.
So what do we have in here? We have a crab.
Crab, shrimp, scuds, and glass eel.
We also caught a few killies, but
We did get killies, yep.
That's one movie, and then that shows the smaller, the Elvers, and then the second one is hold on, not really good with the sharing yet. Sorry, hold on. And then I'll go into some more details with stuff. And it shows an Elver, I guess, right? When it starts changing color, I would say this was an Elver, yeah?
Aww.
Yep.
Okay, enough. Alrighty. So that was kind of like give you an idea of what we did. Besides Siwa, who helped create the MOP, we also had a few watershed ambassadors help with some things. They came to our MOP creation event. Also, they helped out on a couple other events that we had, just contributing to educating about eels and all that. We had, I won't go into everything, but we had it's a lot of events, and at every event we made sure we told everybody about the program, and everybody was very interested in the program. A lot of people didn't know we had eels in the river, and it was nice to see people interested in what's going on in the river. So we caught a total of, caught a total of 37 glass eels and 16 Elvers. So we did see some Elvers. They weren't huge, but you could tell because the color was changing. Let's see. I would say that the only major concern I had, I mean, we had some challenges, but they weren't a big deal. The major concern I had was the synthetic material we used to create the eel mops, and I really liked some of the other alternatives that people were doing to collect the eels, to capture the eels, and possibly thinking about the use of a natural material for the eels. To be honest, the eel mops didn't really look great when we pulled them out of the water anyway, so I don't even know if we would be using them next year anyway. So you know what I mean? I don't see any advantage of using the synthetic, if you're not going to reuse them year after year, you might as well use maybe a more natural material. That's just my feeling. But so anything else?
We are running short on time anyway, Clea, so I think.
Oh, that's good. I'm done then.
Yeah. Thank you very much. All right, so we have two more groups and only 2 more minutes. So I'm hoping that everybody's okay saying 10 minutes over on this call. And if you have to go, thank you for coming. And this is being recorded, but hoping folks can stay on for our last 2 grantees. And then we will wrap up. Ben, do you want to go?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Benjamin Harris with Raritan Headwaters Association. This was our first year working on this eel project way up in the headwaters. So let me get my presentation up. So not just me on this project, also at RHA, Lauren Tyson, Dinah Golbus in the education department were working very heavily on this program, particularly with our education programs in schools. So there's sort of 2 main facets to our eel work this year. The first one was education programs with our eel mops. So we went into 8 different schools and constructed eel mops with students. And then each eel mop construction program had an accompanying education program about eels, of course. So we got into 8 schools, saw 16 classes with 16 different programs, and reached over 220 students. We did monitoring with different community volunteers, like the few pictured here, and then some of those school groups as well that wanted to join out in the field. Unfortunately, we didn't see any eels in our eel mops this year, but we saw very happy faces on those 223 students. Even without being able to see any eels, they were fascinated by the story of the eel, constantly talking to their teachers about it, wanting us back in their classrooms, wanting to go out more to try to find the eel. So it was a lot of fun and very successful, even though we didn't see any eels. And I will just point out that we partnered with Hackle-Barney chapter of Trout Unlimited for this portion of our project to increase the reach and capacity through additional programs and funds from them. The second facet, trying to go quickly for everyone, is the construction and implementation of an eel ladder at the Ravine Lake Dam, which is a pretty significant dam on the north branch of the Raritan River. We partnered with Somerset Lake and Game Club, which is the owner of this dam and the impoundment that is created on the river. And then our watershed ambassador, Daniel Magda, through DEP, he took this on as his own project and really helped with the coordination and outreach for this. So though Somerset Lake and Game Club love their dam and love their impoundment, they also recognize the hindrance that it has for eel migration and the connection of the water in general and the life. So they were very supportive of this project and love having this ladder there. It's still there. So if you're not familiar with this design, it's the exact design that's used up in New York by staff of DEC. There's a constant incoming freshwater signal going into the ladder through this, hopefully you can see my cursor, this hosing, and then there's another hose going down into the ladder down towards the end. That's just pulling water from above the dam from the impoundment, and it's just fed through gravity. The water pushing down the hose just pushes it enough to get into the ladder. The eels are smelling that freshwater signal, and it's luring them up into the ladder, and they think it's a little tributary. And then they crawl up the ladder. There's netting in there for some traction, and then they plop into the trash can that is constantly draining. And so there's constant fresh water in there up to about halfway in the ladder. We are counting the eels, of course, estimating life stage, and then we're releasing them upstream of the dam and upstream of the impoundment as well to aid them in their journey up into the North Branch River above the dam, which then allows them to get into the Peapack Brook and other smaller tributaries of the Raritan River. We have local volunteers who go out typically about 4 to 5 times a week. We're getting it checked. It doesn't have to be checked every day just because of the design. We've got 3 eels so far in our ladder. It's been out for about a month and a half. Not hundreds, but also not zero. So it is successful. And we've gotten 3 little babies up above the dam, which is great. They really weren't babies. They were about 6 inches. So they were right on the cusp of elver and yellow eel, which is quite a feat for a 6-inch little eel because we are above the Headgate Dam of the Raritan, which is down at Duke Island Park. So they're still having to cross a significant dam to get to us. But this is just to help them out even more. So we will have this out until likely the end of August. Just hoping to get some more eels before the end of the summer and early fall. Anybody's welcome to come check it out if you want. It's the end of my presentation, but if you want my email, it's right there. So appreciate this opportunity with Harbor Estuary Program and look forward to more eel time.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ben. And last but not least, Noelle, are you ready to roll?
Hold on. Get it ready. That here. Okay. Okay, hold on a sec. I have to share the screen first. Just a sec. Wait. Can you see that screen?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So this is our 3rd year monitoring. And this is the first year that we have found we found the most eels this year that we've ever found. We finally were able to partner with a school. We had tried this the last couple years and it just didn't quite work out. But this year we had a specific partner school, the Explore Middle School from Jersey City, and they wanted to include their entire middle school. So we worked with their 6th, 7th, and 8th grade on multiple days. We visited their school in February and did a workshop, and then they built their mops. Then they came in early spring and deployed their mops. And then later in May, they were able to come and actually check their mops and find eels. Here's just some pictures of the classroom visit. And as everyone has stated, this project has been the most engaging of any other community science project that we've ever done. And that has certainly continued this year. So that was 180 students that we reached just with that one school. And our also star is an independent project by a 6th grader, Jacob Tenenbaum. He did a project last year in 5th grade, which some of you remember hearing about, in which he did try different materials for mops as part of his Living Shoreline project. This year, he took that a step further and specifically focused on creating eco-friendly mops. There's a link to his website there. I can share that in the chat later. But he built these mops, designed and built them, deployed them in February, which is, I have a picture on the next page of them deploying it in February. You can see there's snow on the ground. It was freezing, it was very cold, but he persisted and monitored weekly through the end of June. And you can see some of his designs there. Their fibers are coconut, and there's one 3D printed base and another ceramic base. And then his control is to the right there, which is the same type as the ones that most of us are using, with the polypropylene. And he did show that his mops hosted eels, and I'll get to some of the findings later. But they definitely were viable in that way. They did only last a season and started to deteriorate at the end of the sampling season. So to the whoever that was that spoke earlier, yes, they're good for one season. That coconut fiber worked for one season. So we worked with a lot of other schools and youth groups from all ages, from preschool all the way up through graduate school. This was the most number of youth groups that we worked with in the years that we've done this. Here's one page of listing, and here's another page. We had public schools, private schools, parochial schools, Girl Scouts, homeschool, and we also worked with our camp groups, charter schools. So we spanned the whole range of different youth groups. And this is what our sampling looks like. We do collect the data on, by hand on handwritten sheets. We do use hip waders. Someone else mentioned hip waders. They are fabulous. Those little pink ones just shown there are for like kindergarten to third grade, and then we have larger ones for adults. It's a fabulous asset, and it does allow us to use other tools like seine netting and hand nets, and allows us to walk into the water, which is always valuable. We did have our mops this year in several locations, including that beach that was just depicted, and also at Pier 12, which is a dock. And these are some of the images from Pier 12. And we also did some events this year. We had a green fair that we were at. We had an event for resilience. We do kayaking and paddleboarding, and then we do environmental education, and we do have a season membership for adult kayakers and paddleboarders. We hosted an event for them, which was named Relax and Unwind, in which they ate wine and cheese that they supplied themselves, and they unwound that fiber for us, and that was very popular. And then we had some other events, Discover Your Waterfront. In this year's version of it, we actually had a parade, and that event we always do with our partners at Fund for a Better Waterfront and the Hoboken Cove Boathouse. Always great partners, and the parade was awesome. We had the Hoboken High School marching band, and then we had made all these giant eel puppets, including Elena. Thank you so much to Grace and her students over there in Jersey City. Elena paraded with us. And we had City of Water Day. We also had the mops there for that. And we found this year our new monitoring location. We had more in the Weehawken Cove location, and so we ended up monitoring from the sidewalk. And so we had a lot of people just walking by who were interested to know what we were doing, and then stopped and stayed and looked at the eels and listened to what we had to say. Here's a picture of us monitoring on the sidewalk. That's the sidewalk location. It's just right on the waterfront, and so lots of people pass by there. This is the example of some of our events. There's Elena depicted, and an eel that we made. And this is the Green Fair. Some of our members with the fronds that they unfurled. It's a repeat slide. Oh, those are videos I wanted to show, but I'm going to skip them oops, well, we'll catch some of them. I'll move on from that. So one thing that we included in our workshops this year is a visit to the Hoboken Historical Museum. They happen to have a meadows exhibit, which, if you're not familiar, the city of Hoboken used to be an island. It was surrounded by tidal waters and wetlands. And the museum this year, the tiny little Hoboken Historical Museum, is doing an exhibit on that on the meadows. And it's fascinating. It's directly related to Native American accounts of migratory species, including eels, right in this area. And so it's not surprising that we've been finding eels in Weehawken Cove, because that's the place where the water would have continued to flow back into this wetland area. So we did read from these books. We did that last year, and then we brought students to the Hoboken Meadows exhibit, which conveniently is located right across from most of our sampling sites. So we did enjoy that this year. And just generally, the first year we had 1 mop, last year we had 6 mops, this year we had 9 mops. We had 2 polypropylene at Pier 12, we had 4 polypropylene in Weehawken Cove, and then we had Jacob's Project, 3 mops, 2 eco-friendly, and 1 as his control synthetic mop. So we had the most mops this year that we've ever had. We found the most eels, and these are the locations where we had the mops. Hoboken Cove Beach, Pier 12, and then Weehawken Cove. But we did have more in Weehawken Cove this year. There were 6 of them over there. One of them did fall apart, unfortunately, and we had to replace it. This is the data sheets that we're using to write our data by hand, and then we were actually entering the data. I appreciated the online data sheets. We have now created our own. I don't have an example of it, but we're trying to transfer all our data into our own online version. But this is our data sheets and handwritten data. I haven't compiled all of our biodiversity data, but we are monitoring that for each mop through the whole season, all those weeks. And we do collect water quality data as well. And pretty much it was similar to last year. The water quality temperature was similar and the dissolved oxygen was similar. Although I'll just point out, we monitored over the last few days, and the dissolved oxygen is lower than expected from last year. And interestingly, we're still finding tiny, they're not glass anymore, but they're glass eel size elvers. We're still finding them in Weehawken Cove. We just found 2 of them yesterday and 2 other ones on Friday. So here's just a couple images from our glass eels that we found this year. Notable guests, we found northern pipefish more than once in the mops, and juvenile tautogs. And I don't have an image of it, but unfortunately we've been finding oyster drills. We were proudly putting our eel mops next to our oyster gardens and, thinking we're creating a nice reef and a nice, more natural kind of setting for the eels and the other species. But unfortunately, we seem to have attracted oyster drills, which are definitely eating our juvenile oysters. And that's kind of a problem. So let me skip back a couple slides to our findings. So Jacob's project, I believe his mom is on this call, so she can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they found a total of 21 eels and elvers. Their eco mops, there were 18, and of their polypro control, they found 3. So the eels of different life stages were definitely hiding or enjoying or living in the Jacob's Eco Mops. And our Explorer School mops, which were all synthetic, we found 12. So there were 8 glass eels, there were 4 elvers, and interestingly, there was one which adult eel. We think the yellow eel stage. We weren't able to pull it up, but we saw it running away, basically. So I don't know. Were they talking to each other? Do they know each other? Were they guiding each other, or were they just hanging out together? I'm not sure. And we're still wondering why we're still finding the elvers in that area, even today. And then in regard to outreach, we reached so far 500 youth this year, which is the most we've ever done. And those are through direct youth programs where we actually had students either making the mops or monitoring the mops. And as I mentioned, it's super engaging. So we're very fortunate. We're so thankful to be able to participate in this program. In our events, we reached over 300 people, and indirectly, just through, you know, talking to people on the sidewalk and actually through Jacob's project, because he did win an award through the city of Hoboken, a grant of $5,000 through the Hoboken Youth Climate Fund, which is funded through the Bloomberg Association. That was publicized and lots of people heard about that. So, you know, indirectly, we've actually reached out to over 100 people. And I will skip back to the end here. Our takeaways. So the Hoboken Meadows and including the history of the area was compelling, and I would want to continue that. Lots of people didn't know that Hoboken itself was ever a wetland area. Our data sheet and design and having it, we had a dedicated assistant this year that helped, more than one dedicated assistant. We found through Jacob's project that the coconut fiber was viable for sure for one season. We found the same level of species richness between Jacob's coconut fiber and the synthetic mops, although in some cases we had different species. That it seemed like shrimp preferred the synthetic mops, where there were lots of amphipods and other kind of invertebrates in Jacob's mops. That I will have a full report on that when I submit the written report. The plastic plant dishes do deteriorate in rough conditions, so to the point stated before, it is problematic that we are likely contributing some level of plastic into the ecosystem with our synthetic mops. And we just say, in general, the mops of whatever type we've put in seem to increase species richness and overall biodiversity. We definitely increased our outreach by involving schools and through the sidewalk monitoring. Our data collection was definitely more accurate with a dedicated school partner. We hope to continue that next year. There are elvers still in Weehawken Cove. Why? We don't know. Setting up early, we did start, as you saw, in the snow. That yielded more results, possibly more eels. I don't know if there were just more eels in the system this year, or if it was our location or the fact that we started monitoring earlier. And Weehawken Cove is a better location for finding eels. We found none at Pier 12 this year. And in other years, we had found them in Hoboken Cove. So that's a fairly good option, but Weehawken Cove by far is a better location. And to be continued. We hope to continue, and we're so grateful for the opportunity. It's allowed us to really engage the public and learn a lot about the estuary in general, and helped us find our way to some of the history of the area and the wetlands. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Noelle. Very inspiring. I should have known that we needed 2 hours to talk about eels. Like, there's just so much to talk about, and everybody's projects are so amazing. So thank you guys for sticking with us. Big thank you to the grantees. Your work is amazing as always. It's very impressive. And thank you to our audience, our partners who came to share in our storytelling. So I appreciate everybody that was able to come, and I will be in touch. Thanks again, everyone. Bye.